go out and speak that vision throughout the state of Oklahoma to focus on our basic Republican principles of limited government, more smaller, efficient government, low taxes, government reform, personal responsibility, economic freedom, faith, family, God. Those are things that have always been important to me, and to help recruit candidates. I've helped recruit candidates throughout the state of Oklahoma over the many years to run for the legislature. Now we're seeing the rewards of our hard work over the last 20 years. When I started in the legislature, we had 30 Republicans out of 101. Now we have the majority in the House, we have the majority in the Senate, and we're going to make a clean sweep this year from the top to the bottom, all the way down, electing conservatives to run the state of Oklahoma so we can have a better, more prosperous future for our state. So I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing for many years, and that is standing up and fighting for our party, not only here in Oklahoma, but also in Washington, D.C. I'm proud of my 4 years in Congress. I have to tell you, it's been a real eye-opener being up there with Speaker Pelosi and President Obama. Those people have a different vision for our nation than I have. They believe that you can borrow, tax, and spend your way to prosperity. I know you can't. I know that businesses and individuals create jobs, not government. Government doesn't create prosperity. We can't be taxing our businesses, over-regulating our businesses. We can't have massive government takeover of businesses, whether it's health care, like President Obama's health care that I fought against. We can't be passing new energy taxes, like cap and trade. I have fought the battles against those things. I'm willing to take on the battles here in Oklahoma. Some of the battles I fought here in Oklahoma, I took over the Senate to pass right to work. I took on the unions. I took on the trial lawyers on workers' comp and trial reform, tort reform. I'm not scared to take on the big battles that will transform the state, lead the vision for the people of Oklahoma, and continue to build our party.
As far as the party goes, I love the Republican Party. I registered when I was 18 years old. And I think if you would ask my colleagues in the state Senate, the one word that comes to mind oftentimes when I've been introduced in public, I am the conscious of the conservative movement. You see, I'm a consistent conservative. I'm a constitutional conservative. And I believe in the rule of law. I truly believe in the blessings of liberty that our founding fathers gave us. And my entire tenure of serving you in the state Senate has proved that my words and my deeds perfectly align with each other. You know, it's one thing to talk about smaller government, and then it's another thing to vote that way. Well, while Congresswoman Fallon has been voted for the bailout, the $800 billion bailout in Congress, need I remind you that that particular bailout vote allowed the federal government to seize control of private industry. Never in my lifetime would I have ever thought that government could take over financial institutions, General Motors. I am so against that kind of government. I truly believe in smaller government. And my policies show that. As a matter of fact, rather than supporting that kind of a government bailout, I wrote legislation to not allow government to grow faster than what the private sector is growing. It's called the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. And people, if we had passed that piece of legislation 5 years or 4 years ago, we would not have the budget crisis that we're in today. And I would like all of my members to join me, no matter who serves in the governor's office. If it's Congresswoman Fallon, if it's me, I would challenge each one of them to answer today, would you support spending limits on the politicians in this state? It is a very important thing that we must address in the state of Oklahoma. Overspending is stripping our kids of their economic future. And I'm against the kind of policies that have been coming down from Washington, D.C. Thank you.
I began last November in Norman, Oklahoma at Sarah Palin's book signing. Kevin Calvi and I were the only two down there campaigning. Freezing cold, some of you may have been there, some of you may have gotten your book signed. And I was amused because I had several people ask me, are you a Republican or a Democrat? My answer was, do you think that I would be at a rally like this if I was a Democrat? I have a lot of common sense, folks. And as I said, a lot of it comes from experience. I think that our conservative values for Republicans in Oklahoma is what stands out to the rest of the nation. I talked to some people at a rally this week that were from Texas visiting friends, and they said, you know, the nation looks to Oklahoma for direction. And that thrilled me to no end to know that where we're headed is the right direction. One of the things that I do want to look out for as we enter into the political arena and in state government, we had one of our own Republican senators this year impose a 300% tax increase on vending machines and gaming machines. Folks, we didn't raise taxes on those people, we put them out of business. And we should know better. I want to say shame on that piece of legislation. I would not let that happen. Kind of from where I come from, one of my sayings is, and this would be the same as your governor, I have friends who would tell me to not let my head overload my backside. I would depend on others in the state government to help me there. And I've made a pact with the friends in my coffee shop that if you see that my cowboy hat doesn't fit, you take me out behind the barn and make the necessary adjustments, and we will have a good party.
I think the main contribution that I've made to the Republican Party is to switch as many Democrats as I could over to Republican. It's been a real pleasure doing that. I don't have a count, but I have a feeling that it's a large number. The other thing I've enjoyed doing, I've encouraged other people, other business people, to become candidates, get involved in political races. Many managers throughout the state of Oklahoma can do an outstanding job if they just roll up their sleeves, file for office, get into office, and do their best. We need fresh blood. We haven't had much of that, but we need it badly. You know, oftentimes, listening to politicians across the country, they would have us believe that they are our only choice to lead our government. That's just not true. We really feel like that we're locked out of the political arena, and I'm in this thing just to show people it really can be done. In the future, I'd like to see huge numbers filed for each one of these offices. I think in California, I heard there was almost 500 candidates filed for governor. That doesn't seem possible to me, but anyway, thank you so much for having me, and I enjoyed this process so very, very much. Thank you.
I knew my first request at the beginning of this would be futile, but I'm going to reiterate it again. I've been asked to please hold your applause after each candidate. I know you want to applaud for your candidate. I know you want to applaud for some of the things that are being said by each of the individuals up here. It's taking up time. We won't get through all the questions, so please hold your applause till the end. Thank you. Question number 2. Next year, the legislature will be faced with creating a budget with possibly as much as $1 billion less than this year. Working with them, or would you propose serious budget cuts or an increase in tax revenue? Be as specific as you can.
Well, very specifically, I will not propose tax increases of any kind. And I go back to my policies that I implemented back in 2005, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. It is spending. The state legislature is spending too much of your money. We're overspending. As a matter of fact, had my policies been put in place back then, we would be sitting on a golden egg today. We would not have the draconian budget cuts. And again, I want to reiterate that how important it is to put spending limits on the politicians here in the state of Oklahoma. There's one thing about most politicians, they're going to spend every dime that you give to them. So my goal is to limit their ability to take money out of your pocket. I believe that if we're going to improve the economy, it's going to have to be done by creating more jobs. You know, I've spent 30 years building my businesses in the state of Oklahoma.